Quick question. When you look at your 401k match, what do you actually think? Be honest. Most guys in your position think the same thing. Okay, it's free money, I'm not an idiot, I'll take it. But a 3 or 4% match isn't going to change my retirement. Not at this point. Not starting where I'm starting. Meet Mike and Ray. Same company. Same job title. Same salary. $85,000 a year. Same 401k plan with the exact same 4% employer match. For 23 years, they worked side by side. When they both retire, Mike walks away with an extra $181,700 sitting in his account that Ray simply doesn't have. Same salary, same match, same years. Ray didn't pick worse stocks. He didn't panic sell in a downturn. He just never learned how the match actually works, and it quietly cost him 6 figures. If you're watching this thinking, sure, but I'm 45, I'm 50, I've got a fraction of the time someone in their 20s has, that's exactly the math we're about to run. This isn't a story about someone who started early. It's a story about 2 guys who started at the exact same point you're at right now. Today, you're going to find out exactly what Mike knew that Ray didn't, and you're going to walk away with the exact formula to calculate your own number. Not Mike's, not some example on a screen, yours, based on your salary and the years you actually have left. Here's where we're going. First, I'm going to show you why a 4% match is worth a lot more than 4%. This is the part almost nobody explains right. Second, I'm going to show you the 2 specific leaks that silently drained money out of Ray's account without him ever noticing. These are the mistakes, and there's a good chance you're making at least one of them right now. And third, I'm handing you the formula. 1 multiplier. Your salary, your years, your number. Let's get the headline answer out of the way first because you shouldn't have to wait 12 minutes for it. A 4% match sounds small because you're thinking about it as 4% of your paycheck. That's the wrong frame. The right frame is, it's a 100% instant return on money you are never going to see anyway, compounding for as long as you have left in the workforce. On an $85,000 salary, a 4% match is $3,400 a year. Left alone in the market for 23 years at a conservative, inflation-adjusted 7% average annual return, that's a deliberately cautious number, well below the market's long-run nominal average of roughly 10%, because I want you spending real, inflation-adjusted dollars, not an inflated headline number. That $3,400 a year compounds to $181,700. Not because Mike is a genius, not because he timed anything, just because he let the match run uninterrupted for the full stretch of time he had. That's Mike's number. In a few minutes, you're going to calculate yours. Let's start with why the match matters more than almost anything else in your entire financial plan. I call this the free raise. Think about every other investment decision you'll ever make, every stock pick, every ETF, every hot fund a guy at work swears by. Every single one of them carries risk. You could be right. You could be wrong. Nothing is guaranteed. The match is the one exception. The moment your employer puts in 4% because you put in your share, you have just made a 100% return before the market has done anything at all. There is no stock, no dividend yield, no crypto call, nothing that reliably matches a guaranteed, instant 100% return. It's not really a perk. It's closer to a raise you have to actively opt into, which is exactly why it's called the free raise, and exactly why leaving any of it unclaimed is the single most expensive mistake available to you in your entire financial life. And here's why this specific piece of the plan matters more to you than it does to someone in their 20s. A 25-year-old with a small match has decades to fix a mistake. You may not feel like you have that luxury, which means the money you're not supposed to leave behind, the money that's already yours by right, matters more per dollar to you than it does to almost anyone else contributing to a 401k today. This isn't a nice to have. For where you're starting from, it's structurally one of the highest leverage dollars in your entire plan. And this is where Ray's story actually starts to go wrong. Not with a bad stock pick, with 2 specific leaks in how the match itself works. Leaks almost nobody explains because most content stops at get your match and never tells you the mechanics underneath it. That's important. But if you don't also know how those mechanics can quietly cost you thousands, none of this works the way it's supposed to. Let's fix that. Leak number 1, the paycheck mismatch. Here's the part almost nobody tells you. Your plan document promises your match on an annual basis. Something like, we'll match 100% of the first 4% of your salary for the year. But most payroll systems don't calculate it that way. They calculate it per paycheck. Every single pay period is treated as its own mini-match calculation, completely separate from the year as a whole. That mismatch is mostly invisible if you contribute steadily all year. but it becomes a real measurable leak the moment your contributions stop early, which increasingly happens because the IRS raised the 2026 401k employee deferral limit to $24,500, and more people are hitting that cap before December than ever before. Here's the mechanism. Say you're a strong saver and you front-load your contributions, hitting that $24,500 cap by, say, August. Your deferrals stop. And at most companies, when your deferrals stop, so does your per-paycheck match, even though the annual formula would still owe you more. If your plan doesn't have what's called a true-up provision, a year-end correction that reconciles what you actually earned under the annual formula, that gap in match is gone. Not delayed. Gone. You did everything right, and the payroll calendar quietly cost you real money anyway. The fix cost you nothing. Call HR or your plan administrator and ask one direct question. Does my plan true up unmatched contributions at year-end, yes or no? If the answer is no, the fix is simple. Pace your contributions evenly across all 26 or 24 pay periods instead of front-loading, so you never hit the cap before your last paycheck of the year. That's leak 1. But Ray's bigger problem happened years earlier than that, back when he changed jobs. Leak number 2. The vesting cliff. Your contributions are always 100% yours the moment they hit your account. The match is different. Most plans make you earn the match over time through something called a vesting schedule. And until you're fully vested, if you leave, the unvested portion doesn't come with you. It goes back to the company. This isn't a rare edge case. Analysis of Department of Labor filings found that in a single recent year, 1.36 million plan participants forfeited unvested employer match simply because they changed jobs before their vesting date. That's over $1.2 billion in forfeited match in 1 year across the plan studied. And most of that money wasn't returned to remaining employees. It was used by the company to offset its own future matching costs. At 2 of the largest employers in that same data set, close to 290,000 people forfeited match in a single year at one company, and over 160,000 at another. This is not a fringe problem affecting a handful of unlucky people. It's a routine structural leak sitting inside a huge share of American 401k plans, and almost nobody checks for it before they hand in their notice. And this is exactly where job hopping quietly destroys people in your position. One widely cited industry analysis modeled a saver on a typical 3-year graded vesting schedule who changed jobs roughly every 3 years across a career, a completely normal, realistic career pattern, and found the compounded cost of those repeated forfeitures topped $61,000 by retirement. Not from bad investing, from walking out the door 4 months before a vesting date, over and over, without ever checking the calendar. This is exactly what happened to Ray. 18 months into his second job, a better offer came along. He took it, a smart move on paper. What he didn't check was that his plan used a 3-year graded vesting schedule. He walked away and left every dollar of match from that job on the table. Mike, on his last job change, asked one question before he gave notice. "What's my vesting date?" And waited 5 extra weeks to hand in his resignation. 5 weeks. That single question is a meaningful piece of Mike's $181,700 lead over Ray. Those are the 2 big structural leaks. But before we get to your number, there are 2 more common mistakes worth naming quickly, because there's a real chance one of these applies to you right now. Mistake 1. Not contributing enough to get the full match in the first place. This sounds obvious, but a widely cited industry study of millions of plan participants found roughly 1 in 4 employees weren't contributing enough to capture their entire available match, leaving, by that study's estimate, billions of dollars in matching funds unclaimed industry-wide every year. That particular figure is a few years old at this point, so treat it as a directional number, not a current headline. But the underlying behavior it describes hasn't gone anywhere. If you don't know your exact contribution percentage relative to your plan's match formula right now, today, that's step 1. Before anything else in this video matters, log into your plan portal tonight, find the line that says Employer Match, and confirm you're contributing at least enough to capture every dollar of it. Not what you think the number is, the actual number on the actual statement. Mistake 2. Assuming your match is guaranteed when it isn't. A meaningful share of employer matches, close to 2 in 5 according to the most recent industry plan survey, are discretionary, meaning the company can legally reduce or eliminate the match with little notice, often right when a bad year hits. Check your plan document for the word discretionary. If it's there, don't treat next year's match as guaranteed income in your planning. Build your number off what you've already received, not what you're hoping continues. Now let's get you your number. I call this the match multiplier, and it works off one simple idea. Your annual match dollars multiplied by a growth factor based on how many years you actually have left until retirement, at that same conservative 7% assumption we used for Mike. Here's the multiplier table. Memorize the row closest to your own timeline. 10 years left. Multiply by roughly 15 years left. Multiply by roughly 20 years left. Multiply by roughly 23 years left. Multiply by roughly 53. That's Mike's row, 25 years left. Multiply by roughly 30 years left. Multiply by roughly 95. The formula is your number equals your annual match dollars times the multiplier for your years left. Let's slow down and actually watch Mike's own number build, so this isn't just an abstract multiplier. Mike puts in his $3,400 in year 1. He's not chasing anything, he just leaves it alone. By year 10, that steady $3,400 a year has grown to roughly $47,000. By year 20, it's around $139,000. And by year 23, the same uninterrupted $3,400 a year has become $181,700. Nothing dramatic happens in any single year. The entire result is just time and consistency, compounding quietly in the background while Mike goes to work every day like normal. Now let's run all 3 income levels from this channel's audience at Mike's 23-year timeline so you can see how this scales. On a $50,000 salary, a 4% match is $2,000 a year. Multiply by 53 and you get roughly $106,000. On Mike's $85,000 salary, $3,400 a year times 53 is $181,700. On a $120,000 salary, $4,800 a year times 53 comes out to roughly $256,000. Same match percentage, same years, wildly different outcomes, because the whole thing scales off your specific salary and your specific timeline, not some generic example on a screen. If you'd rather not do that math by hand, there's a free calculator in the description that runs this exact multiplier for you. Plug in your salary, your match percentage, and your years left, and it spits out your number automatically. It's not a new tool teaching you something different than what we just covered. It's this exact formula, built as a spreadsheet. Quick recap before we close this out, because I know some of you have this on in the background. The free raise. Your match is a guaranteed 100% return nothing else in investing can match. The paycheck. Mismatch. If your plan doesn't true up at year-end, front-loading your contributions can cost you real match dollars. Ask HR directly. The vesting cliff. Check your vesting date before you hand in notice because job hopping without checking can cost you tens of thousands over a career. And the match multiplier. Your annual match times your years left factor equals your number. Mike and Ray never had different salaries. They never had different match formulas. They worked the same years at the same company. The only difference is that Mike asked 3 questions Ray never thought to ask. Does my plan true up? When do I actually vest? And what's my real number if I let this run uninterrupted? Those 3 questions were worth $181,700. You don't need to be smarter than Ray. You just need to ask what Mike asked. If you want to see what this same kind of math looks like once you're actually living off the results of decades like this one, not just accumulating but drawing an income from it, go watch How to Live Off Dividends. Starting at your 40s or 50s, you're not late. It picks up exactly where this video leaves off, and it uses the same "you're not late" math, just on the other side of retirement. And before you go, one more thing worth 30 seconds. Drop your own year's left number in the comments. Just the number, nothing else needed. I'll do the multiplier math myself for the first batch of you and reply directly with your real number, the same way we just calculated Mike's.